guys did enjoy it. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and lower down the volume, and we're gonna go to let's see. I guess we can leave ourselves an extra. I like this music, so well, let me see where I want to. Well, with the playthrough now being at an end, that also means that it is okay. We're gonna go back here to. I like the book music. So that means that, yeah, that's the end of the Valkyria Chronicles playthrough. I know, oh, it's so sad, right? And I'm gonna miss this game a lot. But with that said, now we can begin like my favorite part of the playthrough, which is what. Well, I guess it's not my favorite part of the playthrough, but it's always a traditional part is where I give a short review of the game after having played it, and talk a little bit about what I liked and disliked about the game. And after that, I'll talk about a little bit about Aryan Legacy of the Koryodan, and also the next game right after that, but you'll have to stay tuned for that, or if you don't want to, that's fine too, and you can always find out when I announce it after I finish here. So, let's see, where do I start? Like, this game was pretty long. It also did take a bit longer than I expected, only because of the vacation time. There was a lot of stalling, there was a lot of losing involved, and there was also a lot of vacation involved, so that's why we ended here in September rather than in August as I was expecting, but that's okay. It's all good. So let's see, what do I want to say about this? So first, like usually how I review a game is first I look at the graphics, story, sound, and the controls. Usually that's applicable to most games. So those are the 4 criteria I use to kind of see how the game feels like. So let's go ahead and start with the graphics this time. And I mean, like, yeah, this is quite of a modern game, and I feel like it actually still looks really nice. Like, one nice thing about using the art style they use for Valkyria Chronicles with this watercolor is that the art style really holds up even to this day. This came out back in 2008, I believe. And so it's been quite a few years, and it was originally on the PlayStation 3, which is a much weaker system than what I'm running this on, the PC version. Of course, this is the PC version, so it does look better than it did on the PS3, and it is nice that you can actually run it at 60 frames a second, as opposed to the original 30 that you had to run on the PS3. So that's one nice thing about the PC version, PC Master Race, right? But is that you can run the game a lot better. And it does look nicer too. And even in cutscenes, like, I actually feel like the graphics are really nice. I really have not much to complain about. I mean, you could maybe tell some of the models are a little like, okay, it's like maybe it's a little low poly, but for the most part, like, the art style is so good at hiding any like flaws in the art that you kind of it's not noticeable at all. So it actually comes out as a really good end result, and I really did enjoy it. So I really don't have much to complain about. In terms of allowing you to see things, I think for the most part it's good. I don't really have anything bad to say. I was able to tell, like, oh, there's a unit over there when they entered my field of vision and all that stuff. So unlike other games on this stream where the 3D actually served against us, so we're like, I can't tell what to grab because it's so hard to see. This game certainly doesn't suffer from it. The important information you can see, and it's pretty. And like, I have nothing bad to say about it, which is crazy. I usually have something bad to say if I'm struggling to think of anything. So yeah, with graphics, that's kind of all. Like, it looks great. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It looks nice. Oh yeah, I could think about the field. The field, it feels sufficient enough. It's good enough for what it is, and like I don't have anything bad to say about it, incidentally. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, it's a little empty, but I think given the type of game we're dealing with, it's probably a good idea that they have clear cues to mark off where you can and can't go. Very helpful. I like the text that shows up where it goes boom, and with the sound of the onomatopoeia, the sound effect words. You missed all I said from the start. Oh, don't worry about it. I just basically start praising the game's graphics. I'm like, the art style works so well to hide all the flaws in the graphics that it's really not a big deal. Anyway, I'm repeating myself, but that's the general gist of it. I like the visual cues, I like the onomatopoeia, and at least it's pretty clear where the battlefield boundaries are. The only thing I might criticize is that the hitboxes in this game are a little strange at times. This is kind of like an in-between, but sometimes you think you can get something past something and you can't. Or sometimes, yeah, you'd be surprised what you can be hit from behind. So that is one thing I'm kind of not as happy about, is that the hitboxes are a little strange on mostly the field, the obstacles, anything. And it's a minor thing, but it did screw me over a few times, so that's kind of lame. The environment looks alright. It's not gonna be the most textured and beautiful of all things. Like, I think they spent more time on the character models than the environment. It's alright, I guess, but for this game I'm actually fine with it, because like if the environment were really busy, it would be kind of hard to move around and see things, and so I guess it's a good trade-off. Oh, okay. And like, it's anything else I say. I know, like, there's not as much grass as there was in Xenoblade Chronicles X, but you know, that game was a lot newer. And yeah, so that's basically it for graphics. I don't really have anything to say. But like, for the most part, they were very mindful about making things easy to see, and everyone standing out sufficiently. So I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, enough about graphics. Let's go talk about story. Ooh, this one's gonna be a fun one. I mean, look, it's sort of a very like anime-ish take on war. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not like I wouldn't say it's particularly dark. There are some moments that just like, oh wow, that hits you very hard. Like when you lose certain people. So at least this game is certainly not shy about killing off people that you like, unfortunately. And even though your team is amazing, you aren't able to save everyone. And that's it's good that they kind of portrayed it that way, where it's like, okay, this is war. You can't always have the Cinderella ending. And I think it's important. I kind of like the fact that they're willing to do that. Oh, VC2? Yeah, I haven't talked. I can't review that unless I play it, but I could probably play that maybe a bit later, someday. I did like the fact that they did talk about, like, yeah, or like just all the sacrifices being made, and there was some really like, wow, I can't believe he thought to do that. And even then, you can even see like all sides there's terrible people, and like you have General Damon, who's like willing to use poison gas because he doesn't care, and he's like, I don't care to follow treaties. I'm going to go ahead and hit everyone with poison gas just to be terrible. And there's all sorts of villains and heroes on both sides, and I kind of like that too. It is let me think, what was I thinking of? I also like the little surprise. I think the surprises are probably the most fun part of it, where it's like, well, I know that obviously you play with the premise that you're going to win the war anyway, but you don't quite know how it unfolds, and I kind of like that. I was pleasantly surprised by some moments, and it was a lot of fun. I also was. If you like the heroes and villains on both sides, you'll love VC3. Oh, cool. I'll check that out when we get to those games eventually. Let me think. Anything else I wanted to say? I mean, like, it's not the most. I do also like the fact that you can even hear about propaganda, and I also love I was like, oh, Princess Cordelia, who she really is. That was really interesting too. I was like, oh shoot, this is. No wonder she wears that silly headdress, but it's pretty crazy, right? Anything else I wanted to say? So it's not the most it's not like the craziest one with the craziest twist, and it's not the game with the darkest plot or like overly over-fancified like super gigantic world history that was Xenogears and Xenoblade X. But I still did really enjoy it. There's enough like historical context, and you kind of know. It's interesting how they kind of combine the fantastical, like the Valkyria, and like the more practical. It is kind of I do think that yeah, there's a lot glossed over. It's sort of like, oh well, people die, but it's okay, and you kind of have to. I mean, you accept that it's a reality of a virtual war, but it's just kind of like they don't. I don't know if they necessarily did always try to make the point that like yeah you're actually killing people here, but you know it's a little bit hard to where this is not the message you're sent. It's not quite that kind of game, and it would make the game a lot darker and a lot more unpleasant to play, honestly. So but yeah, I really did enjoy it. It's lighter, but I had a lot of fun. I know I'm just starting to repeat myself. I think I've talked enough about it for now. And I think you get the idea. I did enjoy it in the end. It's lighter fare. So let's talk about the sound. I will say there's some memorable tracks, but for the most part, I don't know if I'm going to remember every single track. I don't feel that it's one of the stronger. Okay, this is somewhat subject to taste. I do like the sound effects. They're very satisfying. It's very satisfying to hear that when you get that perfect shot and you do the most damage. I like the sound effects a lot. And they're good for keeping that feel, very rewarding feel. The music, on the other hand, I'm like, it's okay. I don't know if it's the most. If I'm gonna remember. I don't really remember too many of the tracks except maybe except this one, the one I'm hearing right now. I'm actually like struggling. I'm like I can't remember too many of the tracks. And I think like it's pleasant enough. It works well enough for the game. But I don't know if it's the most memorable thing compared to like some of the other games we've played on this stream, including like which have a lot of great soundtracks. But at least this one, oh yeah, the enemy phase track the most. The normal one, like dude, the Imperial enemy phase, right? I'm struggling to remember how that goes now. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't think it's, at least it's like, when you listen to it, it certainly evokes the feel of how you're supposed to feel on the battlefield. And I really do like that. I feel like the soundtrack works. It may not be the most... okay, why is... Domindang, I can't, that has nothing to do with the review. Please don't talk about off topic. And one for one. Right, she maybe... Oh, anyway, so... Yeah, the themes are actually different based on whether there's a boss or a common soldier. I just noticing that too. Oh, I guess Illusion, you were reacting to Domindang's comment there. Anyway, so yeah, I basically, the sound's great, the music works. It's not the... Yes, I'm sure, like, I feel like if I gave it a good listen, I might remember them better. But most of the time, because I'm so focused on the game, I really can't, like, concentrate on the music. I'm just thinking more to myself and trying to figure out a good strategy. And so we've come to like gameplay and controls. I just want to say, like, of all, in terms of this is where I feel the game shines the most, for the most part. I really do like the fact that they managed to kind of combine the third-person shooter and the strategy game, the real-time strategy game together. That's actually one of my favorite. Like, that's why I was so excited to play every mission. I will be really honest, like, I feel like that's the game's strongest point. Is that... Oh, I see. It depends on which player phase you want. There's a lot of them. I can't even remember. I just know they were different. So, the gameplay for this game is great. This is probably among my favorite battle systems that I've played on this very stream. In fact, I'm almost maybe in RPGs in general, because one thing is that I do like, there are other games I like in this genre, like Fire Emblem, which I really enjoy. I really want to show a game in the Fire Emblem series eventually, and I heard Disgaea seems fun. Tactics I'm okay with, and there's Tactics Ogre, which I hear is very good, but but this is another strategy RPG, but I like the fact that there's this kind of like tension and action. I mean, sometimes it's very stressful to have that tension when you're out in the field and you're trying to figure out the best way to approach. And sometimes you may have seen me like just walk too fast and run into something. But I like the fact that you kind of have to think. There's a lot of ways of dealing with the mission. You can think of strategies. You can maybe think of faster ways to get there, and there's just so many ways to approach the enemy that even like I didn't figure out all the optimal strategies, but you can even discuss it on the internet and figure out, oh, so that's a nice way you could have done it too. And then there's just so many. It's just so like the mission design is actually really good about encouraging that, and I really do like it a lot. And so I love this. Like, it's just, that's the most innovative part with this game. Okay, as a history lesson, in 2008 when this game first came out, it was being touted as like, oh, this battle system is so crazy and amazing. I also love the fact that you can have troops build and yes, of course, you can always and you can probably do most maps in one turn. One thing I really did appreciate is also the fact that units have their own like personalities. Like, even within the same class, they have their own personalities, their own supports, so they have their weaknesses and strength, and you can use them, and it all works together with a strategy. It's just great. You just want, it makes you really care about the units you're playing, even if they don't have a lot of story. And like, I really like that a lot. It gives all the units their own colors, like whether or not you love Marina like I do, or I love John, or you can also like, oh, Rosie is very good at this, and like. And Largo has vegetables, and like the fun ones is just, or like Alicia loving country bread, and the fact that she just get killed. I love the extra little personalities, which is why it's, for me, that's part of the fun too. Like, you all remember your favorite units. Has her buns. Oh, come. Oh, please. We're trying to avoid. No, stop. Stop! Okay. I love that. I like that even units have likes certain units, and then when you put them together with them, they can become stronger. It's so good. I love that. Like, I mean, I like this feature in Fire Emblem, which is something very very similar to it too. But I think this game has a way of like it's very interesting because how the supports work. And sometimes they are awesome, sometimes they're not so awesome, but that's still fun to work with around the unit's limitations. And I mean, like, that's ultimately my favorite. That's another part that I think really makes the battle system work, and it really helps you encourage the strategy, the planning. It's so good. I just have to say it. Like, I love they tied it up really well. And so you care about all the units, and you can try them out, and it's really fun. And I'm honestly happy that it made my experience much more excitable. I also like the fact that the leveling up is a bit simpler. Well, I think one of the things about other games is that oftentimes, like, you can have multiple people in the same class, but you won't use them because you can't level them up fast enough. I like the fact that In this game, it's a lot simpler, where everyone in every class levels up the same. So you can mix and match your units like immediately, and you don't have to worry like, oh, is this character gonna be too low level? Is this other character gonna be too high level? Is too buff? And like, it's in other games it can be a bit of a hassle to kind of keep the levels, or like some units you just abandon because you just don't have time. You won't have the time to train them up, and then in this game you have the chance to train them up, and I really do like that a lot. I like how much more simple it is. It's just a nice streamlining feature. Alright, so the only thing now I'm going to go to the control side of gameplay. I mean, for the most part it works. I like the fact that aiming mode is a still, where you don't have to worry. You can aim at your own leisure, and I like that a lot. The only thing I kind of don't like is the fact that the units, there's kind of like this not fine. The control of moving the units actually isn't very fine, and sometimes it can be a little bit awkward. I think oftentimes when I wasn't, you only really have 2 speeds, and you kind of like, oh, you're either just gonna run straight into the enemy by mistake because you moved just a few feet too much, or you're gonna move too slow and you can't get out of things. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to really screw up movement, and I don't know if the controls are fine enough where it's like sort of like you can like, because in other games that are like more in the 3D world, you can run and move based on how far you move the control stick, but in this game I kind of feel like you move straight, you just move in 2 speeds, and sometimes that speed can get you caught in bad things very quickly, and then you'll lose a unit like I did earlier, where you have very fragile units and then they just get killed because I moved them just a bit too close. I mean, I guess you could say, oh, it's technically my fault, but at the same time, sometimes you just don't know how far the enemy is. Yeah, I like the stick and fast. I think that maybe it's just that fast is just too fast. I think the D-pad being slow is nice too. I do like that. I like that there's that option, but oftentimes the fast speed on the stick is just too fast. I wish it were a bit more like a bunch of 3 platformers, but it's also because my background in gaming is stuck in Donkey Kong, the Donkey Kongs, the Mario 64s of the world, and even I guess, and those are different kinds of games, or other shooters, or other shooting games on other systems as well. So I kind of wish we had finer control of movement, but hey, whatever. You live and learn, and you kind of learn to be approached carefully. So this game certainly doesn't encourage you to be over eager, that's for sure. So that's the one thing that did bother me sometimes, is when I moved too quickly, and it was just like, oh, I just got shot again, and then the unit just kind of stops, and then you turn around, and then that whole time you might get shot, and you'll probably die, and it kind of stinks, and you feel really sad about that. What else I was gonna say again? The other thing is just, oh my goodness, let's talk about tank controls. The single worst controls of the game are the tank controls. So it's very, very easy to have fortunately, the tanks. I think, what was the point? Oh, anyway, while before you answer that, as you answer that, I will just keep talking about how the tank controls. Oh, goodness gracious. I think it's not the matter of the fact that the tanks are slow, which they should be. They are vehicles, and they are not fast. They're not meant to be fast-moving vehicles, so I'm fine with that part. I think the worst part of it is the fact that there's no... Right. I mean, I guess you think it's suitable punishment. I guess, sure. But I hate how there's this little hop and then, yeah, well, it's more like you just walked in the feet too far, and then, well, anyway, it's not a big, it's just a minor quip. It's more like, I think it just boils down to the fact that stick fast, the movement is just a little bit not as fine-tuned. Or more like, I wish the units could turn faster, but I guess the game balance would change if you could do that. Oh yes, tank controls. I didn't run too much into uneven terrain, but it's easy to just like... Tanks get caught on various things. It's really hard to tell because of the bonding, the hitboxing. So sometimes it's hard to tell if your tank will just run into things. So you may have noticed during the stream multiple times I was just stuck in this section because I was like, I think I could have passed it, but I need to find just a sweet spot to get through it. And then turning takes forever because you can't tell if you can actually turn where you are, so you have to move up forward, and then sometimes it moves up forward really slowly, and you can lose your AP, as Dixmonicus was talking about. So I feel like, tanks, you're kind of discouraged from using too many tanks because it just takes forever. It takes 2 CP, which hurts a lot, and they're not easy to control, so you can get in trouble if you're not careful, or you can waste your turn, which would really suck. So I feel like they're the single worst controls in the game. I don't know if they improve it later, but yeah, they're such a pain to use, so it was really annoying when I had to. Yeah, basically. In the end game, you don't want to use the tanks because it takes too much CP, and you can probably do more with a regular unit with using 2 CP than you could with a tank with 2 CP, and they're only 1 turn. So let's see, anything else about the controls? I mean, the aiming's fine. I mean, you miss sometimes, but what else can you do? That's just part of the unit stat, and that's okay. I am fine with that. Oh, let me think. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm actually struggling to think of bad points should give you a clue about how I feel about the game, because I'm actually having trouble nitpicking, really. Like, I'm mostly nitpicking on controls at this point. And anything else? Sight is fine. I mean, the aiming is like, I don't know how to... I'm actually okay with it because, like, I know he should be aiming. They should aim where I put my cursor on. But, I mean, given how lenient aim mode is, you need to have some kind of penalty for using certain units. But yeah, Welkin and early game Lancers can't aim to save their life, so you do have to take that into account. That is one thing, is just like, I guess it feels a little random. No, joking. But anyway... No, let's punish people for... You gotta use your units right. You can't always use the people that aim the best. They're not everyone's gonna aim like a sharpshooter, man. But yeah, I can tell you're joking. I can tell you're trolling. I was like, aiming's fine. Welkin's fine. Sure, you can't shoot anything unless it's right in front of his face, but it's okay. I know that he doesn't have 20/20 vision, despite the fact that he goes out without glasses. So, oh yeah, I forgot about... Now that I think about it, for sound, I forgot to describe the voice acting. Let's see. Because I never played the Japanese voice acting, I have no comment on that. I won't be able to review the game's voice acting in that case. But for the English voice acting, I think it's not the best dub I've heard, and there are some lines that are a little like, huh? A little strange, because I don't know if the actors were... I mean, okay, the voice actors and actresses used in this game are pretty high profile. Like, there's Laura Bailey, there's of course, let's see, what was his name again? Why am I trying to, like, the guy, Jaeger's voice actor, who we actually heard in Xenoblade Chronicles X as well. Why can't I'm forgetting his name, but yeah, but and of course, Yeah, I'm blanking. What's going on? I should be able to remember this. Dave Wittenberg. Oh, Dave Wittenberg for, not for Jaeger. That's the Welkin, right? Of course, everyone. Dave Wittenberg is also pretty high profile. Of course, there's our very own Spike Spiegel. No, I'm just joking. Not Spike Spiegel. His name is John. No, his name is not John. Hold on a second. His name is Steven Blum. How did you... don't ever forget Steven Blum like I did just now. Steven Blum is also a very high-profile actor. You can actually... that iconic voice was used in this game and for a few other characters too. Was Wendy Lee in this game too? I don't remember. But yeah, they have a bunch of high-profile voice actors. It's alright. I don't know if I feel like the direction is a little off sometimes. But for the most part, it's not the best thing I've ever heard, but it certainly serves its purpose for the game. It feels mostly competent. And yeah, it's funny because I just went to a convention where Steven Blum was. I didn't get his autograph because everyone and their mom wanted it, so there was just no room for me. But yeah, I think the voice acting's pretty good. It's certainly better than some of the other things we've had on this stream, like Kudoka or anything. Not Child of Light. That was barely had any voice acting. Oh, it's certainly easily better than Lunar for the most part. Most of Lunar, or almost all of it. Anything else with bad voice acting we've had? Yeah, actually so yeah, it was... Oh, wow. The bounty hunter? As in, which bounty hunter? Which one? The one that was Ryoko's rival? What was her name again? I don't remember. It's been so long since I watched Tenchi Muyo. Nagi. Yes. I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. It's been a while since I watched Tenchi Muyo. A classic anime, you should definitely watch it. But wow, so they actually managed to they got some pretty high profile VOs. So the performances are pretty good. For the most part. I feel Alicia's a little strange at times, but for the most part she's got it. Rosie is interesting too. I feel like Largo certainly did a good job. So I was very impressed. I enjoyed the voice acting from the side characters as well, so I had a lot of fun. Sweet dreams, everybody. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't hear anything really. There's a few flat lines, but for the most part, pretty good. I didn't cringe. That's one good thing. I enjoyed it for what it was. So it's certainly a product of its time. I don't know if it's as good as I don't think it's as good as Persona 4 and 3 in English, but I did have a lot of fun with this game's voice acting, and everyone had fun. I enjoyed the performances in the ED DLC, and I enjoyed a lot of the villain voices as well, like Silvaria's and Maximilian's. You don't think so? You're not sure about what particular thing? Uh-oh, we're gonna have a voice actor debate. My voice actor is better than yours. I think in my opinion, P4 was really, really good. P3, it depends. Honestly, I'm a little iffy on that one, actually. I take that back. I'm not sure about P3. I am talking about P4 from the PS2. Which one? 3 or 4? 3, I feel like is weaker in terms of dubbing quality. Yeah. If it was 3, then I'll be like, okay, I could see that. It's a little iffy at some parts. Like, I know some people love the characters in P3, but I like them too. I just felt the vocal direction wasn't quite on point as it was in P4, where it was like, oh, it's really good. I I could not think of a line I was going to complain about. I was like, wow, this is really stellar. Oh, you probably had the... I guess he swapped out the voices for the P4 ones, for the Japanese ones, which is fine. I actually like the Japanese voices for the P3 and P4. I will perfectly admit that I like the P3 voices in Japanese more than I like the English performance as a whole. Anyway, sorry. Completely unrelated. We're not going to talk about Persona voices here because I'm going to talk about more about Valkyria Chronicle voices. So, for the most part, it's good enough. I enjoyed it. Much better than some of the other games we've had on this stream. So, with all of that said, I've already talked about... I think I talked about the controls, gameplay, sound, graphics, and story. Story's good. Not complicated. But what would I recommend this game to people to play? Let's see. In case it wasn't already obvious, yes, 100% yes. If you... What's that? Edward from another Kudelka, another game. So final verdict, this is a thumbs up buy. Why would you not get this game? Like, I can wholeheartedly recommend it compared to like some of the other games we had to stream. There's not the only thing that might be a blocker for you is if you don't like thinking about your moves. If you don't enjoy that kind of... If you want a game where all you do is run and gun and kill people, then maybe this isn't quite the game for you. But if you enjoy RPGs, and especially if you enjoy strategy RPGs, I really wholeheartedly recommend this game in particular. The first game in the Valkyria Chronicles series. You'll enjoy the character building, and it's cheap now, and it looks good, and it plays well. Like, it plays well with slight caveats, but that's okay. Oh, the only other thing I should mention is, like, the only thing that might hurt the game a little bit, too, before I go to more of the final verdict. I didn't like one thing they like to do, is that they like dropping things as a surprise when you couldn't have known or have prepared for it. That is one thing that I actually have, that is one of my pet peeves in some strategy games, like Fire Emblem, or this game, Valkyria Chronicles, is the part where they make it so that units spawn in positions you couldn't have known about ahead of time, and that kind of bothers me. I really don't. It forces you to really, like, you have to have you have known the map would do that to you. That's one thing I don't like about it. So that is one thing I forgot to point out. And this game doesn't suffer from it too much. I'm kind of happy that it's pretty sane about it. But things like Edie's mission and some parts of honestly the first appearance of Silvaria, but I guess that one you could at least excuse. But Edie's mission is just full of it, and then it just drove me crazy, and it was very unfun to deal with. I mean, the battle save system does exist, so it's good. That's a good counterbalance, so you don't have to deal with it. But otherwise, it's just. I hate that because basically you get punished and you really couldn't have avoided it, and I kind of don't like that about the game. That's one bad thing that I did notice. I don't think it takes away too much overall, but it is something to note, and it could be. I really hope later on. I really would prefer strategy games not do that and just have it so that they present you a new scenario, but you have time to prepare. You have a turn to prepare for it, and you can like make makes adjustments, and I would prefer that so much more. And like actually I think the one nice thing is like the new Fire Emblem is like speaking of that one, I guess that's one feedback, that the new Fire Emblem, which is what do they call it? It's Fates is also pretty good. At least as far as I've played, is pretty good about making sure that doesn't happen, so you don't get screwed over and you're like, oh, I have spawned a new unit in this turn. Now you must. Now they won't attack immediately, and then you can kind of prepare for it. And that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with spawning things in weird spots, but having them not attack is okay. And then you can kind of adjust around it. This game, it's a little harder to deal with it, whereas in Fire Emblem you can deal with it a lot better. But anyway, that's different battle systems, so it's just something to note. So final verdict: get this game, get this game, get this game. If you're not a strategy RPG Player, you can give this a try. It may be a bit tough for you, but with some perseverance and battle saves, at least they have a lot of ways of dealing with it. Battle saves are certainly helpful for making sure you do the right move. You can certainly get through this. And like, even you can see even a mediocre or a lousy player like myself was able to stumble through the game. So there you go. If you're better than me at this game, then you will certainly go far. I guess it's the only thing is like, if you don't like thinking, then yeah, maybe this is not the game for you. If you want to just be awesome and powerful, or you just want to grind your way through everything, then maybe this isn't quite... Well, yeah, maybe not quite the game for you. Excuse me. But overall, yeah, thumbs up by. Yeah, they're gonna punish you. They punish the players pretty hard, I guess, in later games in the series. I'm kind of scared about that. I hope that it doesn't skew to where like the margin of error is even smaller, but who knows. So yeah, get this game. It's really great. You'll really like it. It looks good. It plays pretty well. It has good sound, and it has a nice story with just the right amount of darkness, and you have a good time. And so, with that, I guess that's the end of the review. It did go off. I probably went a little long there because I was talking about a lot of things. But, yeah, go get the game. So now